All right, John, let's get started.
Let's do it.
Um, I will go all the way back to August 29th when I watched a movie that I've had to see. Um, and I've had a long time, I've had a long time to be able to watch it, but I just haven't watched it. And I find it's back on HBO Max. It's back. It's a movie from 2015 called San Andreas.
Oh, wait, yeah, this is The Rock, right?
The Rock,
Yeah.
Carla Gugino and Alex Daddario are a family in this movie. And The Rock and Carla Gugino each, they kind of have, they're like separated because of some issues in the past with one of their kids dying. And I think it had something to do with The Rock not being able to save her because in this The Rock plays a what's his job? He's a rescue chopper pilot. So he's a very intensive rescue man. So he's perfect in the time of disaster like San Andreas, which is basically seems to honestly it's a little foggy. I was mostly like making fun of how ridiculous this movie was when I saw it, but it's basically just a giant intense earthquake, and it's just like the state of California is just splitting. And it'd be a good one for you to watch, especially because you're there. And it's
or it'd be even more
no,
terrifying to
it's
watch.
not scary. It's so dumb. It's so ridiculous. Like the way it has like that one of those things where just like things are falling from the sky all the time, and you just see people dying left and right, but it's just done so like, I don't know, CGI and modern and goofily, like, and the timing's just, there's no timing at all. It's just like CGI carnage over and over again that you're just laughing at how many people are dying like in front of you. There's like no like, I don't know, attention or emotional core to it. And I think it's just, I don't know, it's like one of those modern filmmaking tropes. It's like when Transformers is going and they're like, the Transformers jump through the buildings and the bricks fall over all the people. You're not worried about the people, that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I think that was a big talking point with whatever Transformers movie destroyed Chicago. There's just like how many people
Oh, yeah.
had to die for these fighting robots.
Right.
But you don't even contemplate that because of what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd say overall, San Andreas is, to me, worth watching. It is really
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous, but I actually think it's kind of functional in a dramatic sense, which I was very surprised about. Like, Carla Gugino and Dwayne and The Rock Johnson scenes are not bad. Like when they start to, they have like this moment where they talk about all their baggage together, and it's actually done all right. So I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. And Yeah, it's not like the worst movie.
I actually think I saw a few movies this month that you had recommended me that I would like a long time ago. But one of those was What's Up, Doc? The
Yeah,
Bogdanovich, Barbara
Bogdanovich
Streisand.
slapstick.
Yeah, and man, what a great movie. Loved this movie. Um, even with like the high expectations I had going into it, I still yeah, it still blew me away with how just like funny and charming and what a fun movie it was. And Also, I don't know how much I've really seen of Barbara Streisand from like this era. Like I feel like I only really know her as like
Old Barbara
since
Streisand.
yeah, old Barbara Streisand. But she's so like, first of all, she's just like gorgeous in this, and she's so like just like quick and funny. And um I forget, right when I finished watching it, I like, it reminded me so much of like someone else but I can't think of it now. But yeah, I was just I just really loved this movie. Could easily see it become one that I watch over and over. Yeah, it's just
Also a
Madeline
Bay
Kahn
Area
too
flick.
is great. Yes, also San Francisco.
How about that car chase?
Yeah, a great car chase through San
Amazing.
Francisco.
It's an amazing car chase.
San Francisco is a great city for car chases too, just with
For a goofy one, especially.
yes, with how like crazy the streets are. Every time you are walking or driving through San Francisco, it's like crazy how there's a city like this. So it's it's perfect setting for that. Yeah, and Madeline Kahn too. She was great um as the fiance of Ryan O'Neal, or she just played such like a Madeline Kahn character. Yeah, and this was just a really good feel good movie. Yeah, really liked it. So I would recommend What's Up Doc to anyone who needs a good laugh.
Yeah, it's one to own.
Oh yeah, if there's a Criterion version of it, I would for sure get that.
Yeah, definitely a gem. Glad you watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My next movie is a movie that you've seen from last year. 2020 horror flick with Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton, where they switch bodies. It is the sequel to Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan's Freaky Friday. Not really, but freaky.
Freaky, yeah.
Freaky from last year. Yeah. I fucking loved Freaky. I just not only was it really functional and fun, and like I always just love movies that are in the horror genre that are trying to be funny first. You know, that's a real like thing of mine. I especially liked the casting of Vince Vaughn as a serial killer because I realized he has the body type of like Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers. You know what I mean? Like just him with a mask on standing there, how big his body is. It's like, oh, of course. You know, I've never seen this before. I never thought about this once, because Vince Vaughn is not the type of guy anyone would think of casting in a horror flick.
Right.
And I just got such a kick out of him playing a girl, and the script. It's a really good script, and man, I just can't believe they did that in the one scene where Vince Vaughn, as who is playing the girl, is in the backseat of the car with his and hers crush, and the guy is like, they're like having chemistry, you know, they're like finally like opening up to each other, but it's as Vince Vaughn, and that you could tell they're like attracted to each other. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I can't believe they're actually doing this. And like they're seated in a way like they're gonna kiss. And I was like, are they actually gonna kiss? And I was like, they clearly are. They're gonna do it. And I was just like waiting for them to do it. And I think, and they do. And and it's just not what I expected, really. And how could you? And they kind of take it in, and they like, I don't know. I think they say something like, "Let's kiss more when my hands aren't big enough to like destroy your face," or something like that. I never thought I would see Vince Vaughn in a movie kiss a high school kid and get away with it. Like where I'm not like brutally offended, you know what I mean? Where people aren't like torching Vince Vaughn's house or something like that.
Yeah, it weirdly worked. Yeah. That was a fun movie. I know if
you know a movie's got balls when it pulls off a scene like that.
Yeah.
And Freaky's got balls.
So yeah, the other day I watched The Beyond, which is a Lucio Fulci movie. And it's an Italian horror movie, but it's all shot and set in Louisiana. So it has that bayou setting. and which is already, very creepy and eerie in its own right. And of course, in this woman is inheriting an old hotel in Louisiana. So it's that on top of everything else is also perfect, super creepy premise to set up. And the whole point of this isn't spoiling anything because it's shown in the first scene in the movie, but in the hotel is one of the gates to hell. And so crazy shit happened. And then at one point, it was all sealed up, and nothing was really heard from it much, but that there were accidents and supernatural things that happened. And this woman takes over, and that gate basically reopens, or there's like some sort of like awakening type thing. And yeah, it goes pretty crazy from there, but it's a really solid like 80s horror. Like it feels very giallo, but it's set in like the bayou. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would say it's not as high up there as some of like the best like Argento movies, but all in all, solid horror movie. And has a very like I really like the ending. I think it ended
Okay.
on a good note that's also very
Nice.
like daunting too. So
A
yeah.
lot of those out there.
Yes. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
I
you
would
gave me
definitely
some
recommend
good
it.
horror recommendations last year. One, I didn't get to that Peeping Tom, but I watched like
Oh,
um what was that one called? The guy who's in like the desert. And there's those people in the bus. The like dead people in the bus sort of thing. Carnival of Souls.
yes, that one.
Yes.
Yes.
That movie
Yes.
was
Love that one.
terrifying. So good.
I'll probably rewatch that one this October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, nice. So yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I'm saying I'll check that one out too,
Nice.
because Carnival of Souls was a good ass recommendation. So
Yeah, I'm
keep
glad you remembered that
on
one
that
because
train.
yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna go with a rewatch of Pixar's Cars.
Very nice.
I watched this at one of my friends' house. I did not watch this alone. I watched this with a friend. I'd say maybe this is one of the only movies I watched like with. There's probably a few others, but it's one of the few movies I watched with someone actually in September.
Mhm.
And I was at my buddy's, and we were on the Disney Plus. We're just scrolling through, and we were just like, "What about Cars?" We're like, "That
What
could be
about it?
weird." We're like, "That could be weird, right?" And we're like, "Yeah, let's do that." And we did it. And yeah, it was very bizarre. It was very a very weird movie to rewatch. There is a lot of nostalgia I have with it. I mean, but of course it definitely, I mean, no, to say it didn't hold up isn't even correct, because I think it got bashed when it came out. So
Hmm.
for me it didn't hold up, because as a kid I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And it's definitely it has a lot of quality stuff to it, and it's trying to do a lot of like Pixar stuff, but it just doesn't work in this scenario. They're like, let's do Toy Story stuff with cars, and it's just not. It just doesn't work. It's just stupid. Like, and then
Yeah.
along the way, you're just kind of, I don't know, you're just kind of asking yourself all these questions about like logical questions about how it works with the cars. You're like, wait, so cars watch other cars drive around in a circle?
Yeah.
Like there was a town called Radiator Springs where a bunch of cars would stop off at and get tires changed on Route 66. And I don't know, there's just like, you'll find more when you watch it, but there's just a lot of weird questions you'll come up with. uh
Mhm.
logically on like a world of cars and how that makes sense. And you're like, are there boats? Hell, you know, like so there's also helicopters and planes with mouths and stuff too. And like they need, all these people need gas, but do they need food? Like what's the point of having a mouth? And
Yeah.
it's just really strange. And and I'm going just through the meaningless corals I have that are just kind of silly and childlike. Like, I mean, I'd say just the main thing about it is just that I mean, the the big change for Lightning and McQueen in it, who plays a diva, he's like Owen Wilson plays like a diva dickhead car. It just kind of becomes this thing where he falls in love with this town because this Porsche he meets is for some reason in love with the town, and
Yeah.
which is just really bizarre because she clearly seems like she's like a California car, with like it being Bonnie Hunt who's playing her, and then she's a very polished car in it when the rest of the people in the town are rusty. And for some reason you're just kind of like, what's her deal? She's this like hipster like California girl who's like looking out for this town now. For some reason she's just like, I don't know, her way of getting away from the world. And then I don't know, it's just not enough. It didn't work for me. It's not enough weight how Lightning McQueen just falls for it, and he's like, I don't care about everything now that I have and going for me. And it just doesn't work emotionally the
Yeah.
same way. And it tries to also have adult like humor in a way Toy Story would, but it's not. The humor's not as great too. One of the more interesting things about it is just to see like how much many people are in this cast.
Yeah.
Like Doc is played by Paul Newman,
His last
and
role.
it sucks.
Yeah, I
That
know.
sucks. And Michael Keaton plays Chick Hicks, who's the
Forgot
like
about that.
he's the evil car in it, who's like Lightning McQueen's enemy, and he's got like a mustache, and he's like he always says Kachiga, and now I know that's Michael Keaton saying that, and that's fucking hilarious. But damn, that sucks for Michael Keaton. Um, and then there's like little small roles around there too. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
like Chong plays a stoner car
Oh, he's like the
who has
hippie
all
car.
these.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
and
van.
he's always
Yeah.
talking to this like old military car for some reason, and the military car is just like, you shut up right now. He's like, it's getting all crazy here, man. And you're just like, why does this dynamic exist? Like, oh.
Mm-hmm. It's trying a little too hard. I don't know. We watched it again, I think last year. Just during COVID, we just were watching a lot of movies at home and like rewatching old ones on Disney Plus. And it was never one of my favorite ones growing up, but I always liked it. But then yeah, this one, it was just still just felt it was like okay. And I really got annoyed with Mater this time
Yes,
around.
yeah.
Found him to be like so irritating.
Him in a helicopter is like the worst.
Yeah. I also am not a huge Larry the Cable Guy fan. And obviously like at that time he was just like, he was very like mainstream, like funny, like even kids would think he's funny because he's just like a wacky character. But yeah, that character is just too much. Just it'll always be one of the lower tier Pixar movies for sure.
If you just think about the amount they spent on animation versus like how not great it is story wise and character wise, it's just like, damn.
Yeah. I remember before it came out, just from like the trailers, it was getting a lot of flack for seeming like just it was only made by Disney to like sell toys in a way, because like you said, like the Toy Story sort of connection. This way you have such an easy, like, of course you make toys out of these cars that are in this movie that sells itself to kids and everything. So yeah, that kind of, even just like thinking about that, like I don't think there's any way that wasn't like a part of like the pitch for this movie was to sell toys. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
demeaning and like,
Yeah, we'll have remote control Lightning McQueens. We'll have
yeah.
model Lightning McQueens.
So like, so am I just being played?
Kids will love Mater to like drive him around
Oh
their
yeah,
living rooms. Yeah.
yeah.
I
So I
had
feel
the
like I'm just
video
watching one
game.
big ad. Oh, the video
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
wait, we actually had that too. Carly had that for
Yep.
GameCube. Yeah.
I would drive around with the king and like race my brother. And I remember I would always want to race Jake. And Jake did not want to play it a lot. He wanted to play a real game.
Yeah. He was too mature for this cars bullshit. Yeah.
I was probably in like 7th or 8th grade, and I was just like driving in a circle in cars, going like, "I'm Lightning McQueen."
Oh man. Yeah.
All right, that's enough of cars. Let's
Well, I'll keep transitioning off what you say, because I watched the most recent Pixar movie, Luca, that
Oh,
came
that's a
out.
Pixar movie?
It is. Wait, it's gotta be. I'm second guessing myself, but I'm pretty sure it is. Yep, it is.
I didn't even know that. Was it on Disney Plus?
Yeah, and I don't know if Disney Plus is doing the same thing as HBO Max, where it's like free for like 30 days and then it goes away.
Yeah.
Or
All
it
right,
might
well, I
be
should
on there
watch
for
it.
good. Yeah, I liked Luca. Again, and this is a travesty, but I have still yet to see Call Me by Your Name, because I cannot find it streaming anywhere. But having
I
said
don't
that,
think it is.
yeah, it's like just like never anywhere. But having said that, everything I've seen of Call Me by Your Name, this is like a Pixar version of that. And not just like the setting, where it's in Italy, like on the coast, but the relationship between two boys, it's like Pixar's first like foray into the um I don't know, into the homosexual world,
the gay arena.
yeah, into gay cinema. And I think it worked. I think the relationship between the two main boys, Luca, and then I can't remember the other, Luca, who's played by Jacob Tremblay, um I think is like really great. I think their chemistry and dynamic works great. And it's I feel like it's Pixar sort of playing it by the books, going with their same formula. But I think that this works like well to be its own sort of like, it's a very 2021 story, I feel like, too. And yeah, just a really like nice movie. It just, everything looks so great, obviously. And these kids are just like obsessed with Vespas. And who doesn't love seeing like, I don't know, seeing like images of Italy and like Vespas, and like it's all just like the stereotypical like Italy stuff that everybody likes. All the food too. And yeah, it's not one of the more like memorable Pixar movies that you'll see. Like, it's not gonna go down as like something that people talk about a ton, I feel like. But yeah, still a solid movie, and very woke too.
What did you like better, this or the last one with Jamie Foxx?
Oh, Soul. I probably like Soul better, and that's more so because I felt like Soul was going, I guess, with a bit bigger of a scope. like meaning of like life. But
Sounds
yeah.
different though, and like kind of more of a thing that will surprise me. All right, so my next movie is also a rewatch. And it's a more necessary rewatch than Cars. It's one I've been meaning to rewatch for a little bit. It's Todd Phillips is The Hangover. It's been maybe since I was like 18 or 19, maybe, when I watched this last.
Wow.
It's been, I don't know, something
Long
like that.
time.
It's just been a long time. And
yeah,
I'm in a very different mindset than kind of the whole era when I was into this movie, which was mainly high school and early college.
mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons why I was into it in high school was because I didn't totally get it at all. And it just seemed so adult. And it was all just like about all this stuff that I had no idea what it was. And they were just saying things that it's just so adult. And for such typical adults too.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I think I just kind of got into it in high school because I wanted to I saw how the way it was connecting with people. Like it was such a hit and everyone loved it. And like I remember my parents seeing it with all their friends, like all these like other St. James parents, and talking about we laughed and laughed and laughed, you know what I mean? Like we were just dying. And yeah, it just like hit hard, and like everyone in high school was quoting it. Like Rick Rooney was quoting it. And I remember the first time I watched it was with you and Rick Rooney, and I had to like tell my
Really?
parents. Yeah. Well,
Wow.
I remember you guys were super into it. That's part of the thing.
Totally.
Everyone was so into it, and I didn't tell my parents that I was like gonna watch it because they did not want me to watch it. I think was what was just the big thing. And I remember when I watched it, I was just not only did I did not understand a lot of the things that were going on. Like I didn't understand the lingo as much, but I did get like the timing, and I just never understood references that were being made in a lot of Zach Galifianakis jokes. But I did like enjoy the like chaos and the like paranoia of it, but I definitely did not get all of the jokes at all. But I remember seeing like, oh, like you and Rick were like laughing so hard. And then like every time I watched it with people after that, I would like see when someone would laugh at Mr. Chow or something like that. And I so it kind of like I got the fever of it just because of that, because I really respected how I hadn't seen a comedy like it was like that and like Super Bad, where like comedies that were when I was growing up, they became the biggest thing, like a
Yeah.
phenomenon. Everyone's quoting it everywhere. And I loved that growing up. So that's kind of why I got into this. And I watched it over and over in high school, even though I had never drank once in my life. And I'd never like done anything. I never partied. I didn't, like I didn't
Same.
hate.
Yeah.
I had like one girlfriend in high school who was really Christian. And but yet I'm like the hangover, bro. And I also just remember I'm like I didn't know who Bradley Cooper was at the time. It was like first Bradley Cooper role. And I was like, he's so cool and funny,
Yeah, like he's like the alpha of the group.
Yeah.
So
He
you're
is. He is the
immediately
alpha.
drawn to him. Yeah.
It's really funny on rewatch, his character. And so then, I start to get it more in college, and I that's a little more blurry then, but I think I was, still into it. But over the years, I really did not revisit it, and especially over the past like 5 years, I've had this feeling, and I knew deep in my head, I'm like, this movie does not hold up at all. Like, this is like a movie about degenerates. Like this movie, I think this is not like the same. It won't be as respectable of a comedy as it was back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of worried I was gonna hate it. I think was the thing. Um, and so on rewatch this time, I all right. So I don't hate it, but there is a lot of stuff where I'm like, I'm just not into it. And like it has great comedic timing, and
Mm-hmm.
like it's a well directed movie, and there's a lot of like attention to detail on like Todd Phillips is clearly trying to be a sophisticated comedy director in it. Like there's scenes where he is, like we talk about in the Joker, like similar to Joker, where he is directly lifting Martin Scorsese, such as the scene
Totally.
where they count cards, and then you could put these shots parallel to each other. There's a close up of Ken Jeong with his sunglasses staring out into the desert, waiting for them to come and bring him his money. It's exactly the same as De Niro looking out into the desert, waiting for Joe Pesci to meet him in the desert, wondering if he's
Mm-hmm.
going to die. Um, so it's just like things like that. But it's not all bad, because like you kind of respect, like, I don't know, the like care put into that.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Ed Helms wakes up in the hotel room, there's that thing where they attach the camera to him through use of,
Oh
like, I don't know,
yeah.
some rig or steady cam or something, and he kind of walks around, and like that like blues riff is playing, and he's discovering
Mm-hmm.
everything, and it's like really, that's like really good stuff. Like I
Yeah.
enjoy that a lot. I mean, what mainly I don't like is how it's just such a movie made about like douchebags and regular people, very regular people. It's very much made for regular people who just don't are like the ones who will be able to relate to this movie. Don't They live a lifestyle that I just don't. And
Exactly. Yeah.
and like even like Ed Helms, even we talked about Bradley Cooper being a douchebag. Ed Helms in this is even kind of a douchebag sometimes. Like, even
Mm.
though he's supposed to be the nerdy, like uptight one, he's still doing somewhat of a Helms thing. Like, especially since I was watching The Office like over the summer, as I
Mm.
could see the clear night and day differences on him acting for The Hangover versus The Office. There's just things he does in this, and there's a certain chip on his shoulder that he has in this that Andy Bernard does not have.
Mm.
And Andy Bernard is a way more down to earth, layered, like kind of naked man, really, because
Mm.
he has such a sad life, and I mean, and all Ed Helms really is in this is like his girlfriend, like, is just the worst. That's all it really
Mm-hmm.
is, and he just won't break up with her,
Yeah.
and that's all it is. And the way his like girlfriend is played off is just so like, it's kind of funny because she is so difficult, but it's just so ridiculous, like how, I don't know, typical it is, and clearly it was written by a man. And then like after that he writes in Todd Phillips saying she's a bitch. I mean Bradley Cooper said she's a bitch, man. You got to get out of that shit, shit.
Yeah.
It's just like such stupid male bachelor party talk. And then Bradley Cooper's like drunk in the back of the car as they're driving to Vegas, and he's going like he's he's going like, I hate my life, I might just stay in Vegas. And he's got like a wife and kid and
Yeah.
shit, and like it's just like, dude, you're a douchebag. And there's this Zach Galifianakis at one point goes, it's why I've managed to stay single all these years. And Ed Helms kind of goes like, yeah, that's why you're single. Oh, good to know. And it's just like such douchey humor, from
Yeah.
like a guy from Ed Helms, who I do not want to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Yeah, so those are like the things I don't like about it, and it kind of continues where just like where the movie is very actually pretty good and functional, but then the characters will just like say something so stupid, or the movie will just kind of show its personality in a way that I'm just like, ugh, not for me.
And it's gotten to the point where like if I hear anyone like legitimately quote The Hangover in any sort of way in real life, I get so like annoyed. Whereas I just like cringe a little bit, because like I was at a party a couple weeks ago, and someone quoted like "This isn't the real Caesar's Palace, is it?"
Dude,
And like
that's what
and
I was
people
thinking.
laughed. Ugh.
That's what I was thinking of, like if someone was going to quote The Hangover, what they would quote. And yeah, it is like the most corny thing to quote. Yeah.
Yeah. I was
Like, and
so
they quote
mad
it
when I heard
like
that.
right when they get to the reception, and they're going, yeah, they say to your group, "Hey, this isn't the real Caesar's Palace, is it?" And everyone's like, "Ha ha."
I just had so much disdain for human life when I heard that, which makes me not want to rewatch The Hangover. But at the same time, I do like appreciate it was like a phenomena at the time.
Yeah. Well, and that being said, I will say I laughed a shit ton, and I
Oh
had
yeah.
like an
Mhm.
actual kind of fun time. Like, it's just, it's not what I won't hold it as that highly ever again. And
Mhm.
it's like, it's not like something like the McKay comedies, or some of the Rogan Apatow comedies that I hold in such high regard and I'm religious about. It's not that at all. It's just kind of a fun one. That's really all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't mean to go so off the deep end, but
Well, I mean, like, look
it's
how
yeah,
cynical I was being about it just a second ago. You know what I mean? That's the thing, is like, it's like kind
yeah,
of enjoyable, but then there's some things that you'll feel so strongly against, you know?
yeah, definitely. But it's nice to
All right,
see how
that's enough
yeah,
of The Hangover.
it's nice to see
I'm
how
not
we've
gonna watch
changed since
part
then.
two. I'm definitely not gonna watch
You
part
don't.
two,
Yeah.
which I
Um
actually liked as a kid.
Part 2.
I think I
I
even
mean,
liked it more than the first one as a kid.
I saw it in the theater and I remember liking it, but that was the only time I've seen it. Yeah, that's no, I think there's 3 in total, right? I think there might be
Yeah,
3. Yeah.
the third one is, oh,
Well, all right. All right, we'll move on to something that I just finished watching today. Now, this isn't a movie necessarily, but it's a documentary series with they're each like a movie. Each of the 6 episodes is like a movie in itself, and it's "Can't Get You Out of My Head" by Adam Curtis. Now, this documentary, will I highly recommend, but I also want to prepare anyone that it will make you feel very, very hopeless about life and humanity.
okay.
And it's so "Can't Get You Out of My Head" is this documentary series from the BBC. Someone ripped it all from BBC and it's all on YouTube now. And it just came out this year. And the reason I heard about it is because on Tim Heidecker's podcast Office Hours, he was talking all about this. Um, and then one of our friends started talking about it too. And so I decided to check it out. And it's basically a very dense history of the world and the psychology of us as a society and how we all got there, basically starting from like the early 20th century. um, it starts off generally with the events of like post World War One and on, and it's I don't know. There's so much to like unpack from it. It took me a month to watch all 6 episodes just because there's so much, and I would like go back to try and watch more. But apparently Adam Curtis, I wasn't familiar with him before this, but does a lot of these documentaries that are about the human condition, or like the sense of self or individualism. And this is like very much like that. Like it's not going to be as like, one, it's not going to be as popular as other like trendy documentaries like on Netflix, like The Social Dilemma, or things that tell you stuff you already know. That's like, okay, social media companies are taking your data and selling it to other.
Information.
It's like, yeah, of course they are, we all know that. But this is sort of going through, how did we get to this point, how did these companies get to that point, how as a society have we all gotten here. And it covers everything from China, US, England, Russia, like the major superpowers, and how they've changed throughout the years, and how that is, and how like the power shifts has sort of affected our society. And it's just like so smart and intense and in depth that it's impossible to really comprehend all of the stories that he goes through. But it's really, really fascinating, and I would really recommend it. um but he goes through all these periods of history from the past 100 years or so, where the big things like World War II, or 9/11, or just like the Cold War. These are all like supplemental things to these other stories that he's telling, that are seemingly going on like behind the scenes, that we don't like, that aren't in like your high school history textbook or anything. So it's yeah, it's very, very like scary and depressing.
Real deal stuff.
Yeah, it's like, wow, like maybe I am pretty much just controlled by society in a way. Do I even have a conscience? Like it's yeah, it makes you really struggle with finding a meaning in life. But with that being with that being
Sounds
said,
great.
yeah, it's a great documentary. Yeah. I don't know, I just want like more people to see it so I can talk to them about it, because there's
Well, I'm kind of
so much
interested in
in it.
watching it now because like it just
Yeah.
sounds like one of those things where like I want to know the truth.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. And it goes into a lot of like stuff you wouldn't expect to. Like it talks a lot about like the Black Panther Party, and starts talking about this woman who was like very prominent in it. And then all of a sudden, as the story goes on, you realize, oh, this is Tupac's mom. And then it ties
Oh
in,
shit.
Tupac, and everything, with it goes more in depth into Tupac. It's not like Tupac the rapper or the artist, but Tupac the person, and like how he was. And this is a very small segment of the documentary, but it's like it goes so in depth on these like personal stories of these people that you don't like think about in history too much in this way. And that keeps you engaged, is that you're following the storyline of these people, and he's not just saying, and then in 1953 on August 8th this happened. Like it's, yeah, it's just going through the stories of these people throughout time, and how it's led our like the shift in power in society. And yeah, and it's very, very dense. I can't even cover a fraction of
Cool.
it, but yeah, can't get you out of my head.
All right. I guess my next one, which is a perfect tone change for that, would be a 2021 flick called Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar,
All right.
which
Yeah.
I loved. I absolutely loved. Um, it just felt like something that would be made in the 90s or the 2000s,
Yeah.
and like one that's good, and it's just a movie that tries, it's at all times trying to be funny. It's just does whatever it takes in every scene to make it as funny as possible. And
Hmm.
I loved it. I especially love their accents and the way they talk. It's like Barb. I like
Yeah.
there's some things they do that I can't even. They just say certain words that I can't. I wouldn't even be able to replicate that, do an impression of it, I guess. And I thought it was so great. And I love how at the beginning they're just sitting on a couch and they're like, I don't know, they like say like really basic things, and then they like get up and they like turn around and they're like living the dream together on this like couch. And they're just having like these ridiculously stupid conversations, and then you find out that they work there and that they just have fun sitting there talking. Like they're just making fun of these like older like gals from a different era that would just sit around and pointlessly talk and jabber like all day long, and they're just like addicted to each other, that like I haven't even really, I don't even know if I've seen these types of women in real life, but like just from stereotypes over the years I just know they exist. And it's just I love the like their club that's ran by who runs the club? Vanessa Bayer. She runs the club, and
Oh
like today
yes,
she's like,
yeah.
today we're talking about, I don't know, it's just the most random subjects ever, and they're like, it has to be what's on the card, guys. It's just, yeah, and I loved Kristen Wiig also as the other villain, and how it's like how like her like henchman like agent guy is like always like, why doesn't she love me? And there's like a bit where he's like reading a book where it's like, trying to get someone to love you who doesn't, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then she's reading, and then the villain's reading the book like, trying to get someone to stop loving you who you don't love but's in love with you. And it's funny. Yeah, it's just, yep. It was so great. In 2010's comedies ranking, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. The bar is so low nowadays, so to see one that's, I don't know, feels like something that we grew up with, I was so happy about.
Yeah, I really really enjoyed this movie too, and I would definitely welcome another Barb and Star movie too.
A Barb and Star too.
Barb and Star go to wherever, somewhere else.
Yeah. And it's just like how they go to Vista Del Mar.
Yeah,
I don't even know
it's
what that place is.
yeah, it seems like a sort of a generic Florida
Yeah.
vacation
And they
place.
get there and it's all just about this, like it pulls off the vacation comedy, like, and the stupidity of it, and it like kind of brings it into its like advantage to me, it doesn't like fall flat like a Sandler movie. It like just goes right with the goofiness of a resort, and they kind of get there and the like resort puts on a show for them immediately, like they sing a song, and that is pretty funny. They're like, oh my god.
Yeah, this is a really really great movie. All right, I'll go with another 2021 movie that we both watched too, Malignant, James Wan.
I didn't know anything about this at all, and I think that, like,
Me neither.
as it unfolded and I realized what it was, I was like, oh, okay, hell yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, yeah.
once like the second to third act sort of picked up, I was like, oh wait, yes.
Yeah,
we've been
that's
building up
exactly what I felt too. Yeah.
we've been building up to this. Okay, yes, hell yeah.
That was, I was pretty disappointed the first act, and even into the second act too, with just like watching one of these movies, and we were watching like with a group, so that like made it a little bit better. But then the second half I was like, yes, oh okay, so this is a movie that like I don't think is good, but I am like having a good time watching what is happening right now,
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
I'm interested and invested in it. So
I feel
yeah.
like it'll make, on rewatch, that first beginning opening stuff to be like, since you know what is gonna happen, like, I don't know, I think I'll just enjoy it so much more.
Yeah, yeah. And I definitely just like that it's one of these like horror movies that is like fun to watch in a group, not because it's like I don't even think Malignant was that scary at all, but
No.
yeah, but it gets so like weird and like funny, and
Yeah.
to a point where I almost think that James Wan knew that it was kind of like offbeat and not.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of
Yeah.
has that tonally in a lot of his movies,
Mhm.
like Aquaman. He has such a like goofy like this movie. The movie's kind of like it's so ridiculous, like in so many ways, but and it kind of knows it, but it like pulls it off.
Mhm. It's a little goofy, and apparently he was inspired by like giallo movies and everything, um which you can see like in some ways. And yeah, I guess we don't want to spoil too much because it's still fairly new, and if someone hasn't seen it, I think that would
Yeah.
ruin their enjoyment of it. But yeah, if you start it and you're a little hesitant, just keep going.
Don't worry. Don't worry. It
Yeah,
switches up a little bit. It switches up a lot.
yeah, it's a fun movie
Like
in
it
the end.
becomes this whole convoluted thing about the past, and I'm just like, what? You know?
Yeah, that's the perfect reaction. That's what you'll get out of it. But yeah.
All right. All right, that's enough about Malignant.
Hmm.
Yeah, those 2021 movies we gotta get on them. It's or the final stretch.
We're in quarter 4 of 2020 or 2021.
Oh my God, yeah, like just reminds me so much of school.
Hmm.
Oh, we are in the fourth quarter. We are in the second semester.
We are
We
in
are in the
fiscal quarter 4.
we're in the third quarter of the second semester.
Then midterms are next week. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. Fuck. Do not miss that.
Mm-mm.
I'll do a trio. All right.
Mm.
I'll do The Naked City and The Immigrant with Charlie Chaplin and The Crowd, which is it's also a silent movie, a Vidor film.
Mm.
And the reason why these are all together is because they're from a Criterion collection on the channel called like New York movies, which I decided I'm gonna watch all of them this with this collection. I watched 3 so far, and they're all like really early ones. Um, and I don't know. Yeah, they're good. They're good. They're very New York. It's a fun thing to do. And I would say I will single out one, which would be The Crowd by King Vidor, because this movie was awesome. It's like the first silent movie I've seen that isn't like a Chaplin, Lloyd, Buster Keaton thing, and also isn't like an German expressionist thing. Um, it's like actually like old school American drama. And it plays on, I don't know, it's just like it's like a very typical story about, a family trying to make it in New York.
Hmm. I don't know much of
And
anything about
like
this.
just kind of I don't know, just like the very American idea of, make it in New York. And it kind of, there's all these moments of just struggle. Like this husband just can't hold a job, like while they're trying to having a kid and everything. And it kind of just plays on the theme of like the crowd and like all these people in one city. And it's just very emotionally captivating. Like I've never been, I don't know. I've just never been struck emotionally by a silent film, and it's just because it is really well done and just yeah, it really tugs at your heartstrings a lot. So I would highly recommend this. It's yeah, man, one of the most fulfilling silent film watches I've had, and it might be right up there with like I don't know if I had to pick my favorite silent films, it'd be like maybe something like I don't know, maybe Nosferatu and this maybe because Nosferatu, I look back on, I'm like, that thing is fucking awesome. Like, I love the style of it,
Same.
Yeah, so highly recommend The Crowd for sure.
Nice. But yeah, let's talk about a good movie, a movie that I really liked. A movie that I have I've heard so much about in like pop culture and just like referenced so much, but I've never seen it. But Deliverance, I finally watched the other day and really really loved the movie. This is John Voight, Burt Reynolds, Ned Beatty, um, and this is very much like a classic like man movie. Um, just about these guys from the city, Burt Reynolds, John Voight, and then two other guys. It's their group of four guys. They go to the wilderness for the sort of like their wilderness escape. I think there's some like river that they're closing or doing something with. I can't remember specifically, but Burt Reynolds really wants to, go down this river one last time. He's a really like outdoorsy guy, and he wants to go down it one more time. And he brings his friends along, and they're not really super outdoorsy. So that's what like got me into it more, because I was like, I'm not like I like hiking and being outside and doing stuff, but I'm not like an outdoorsy type of guy. Like you won't want to be stranded in the wilderness with me. So I was like, oh, okay, these are like normal guys going out and doing this thing. And right from the get-go, they come across all the people from this area who are all pretty much related to each other. It's like a very very rural place where these people don't see outsiders too often, and it sets the tone perfectly from the beginning, where it's just very uncomfortable. Something's off. The people are very cold towards these guys from the city, but you don't really know why. And yeah, and from there, without giving away too much else of what goes on, it's um the four guys go on their way, and along their journey they have a lot of like encounters with it's basically they are clearly not welcome in this area, and there's all these things, all these
Like
signs telling them that.
supernatural forces are just coming out like
No,
subtly.
it's not supernatural, but it's more so more so like The Hills Have Eyes, or even like Bone Tomahawk in a way, where it's like there's the like the people who live around here aren't very
Oh,
they're not very welcoming to
oh,
strangers or
that
city
okay,
folk.
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were people there.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that these are like the people they're
So I was like,
encountering.
oh, so the woods are like shivering at them. Okay.
No, there's definitely movies like that for sure, but this is, yeah, they just meet like the townsfolk, and they're all
Okay.
very odd, like these very like uneducated hick people. And it's a very like disturbing movie in some points. Like I thought it was just sort of like an action, like adventure survival type movie, but it gets pretty horrific at times, with what happens.
It gets ugly out there, huh?
Yeah, like super
I just,
disturbing.
I'm just picturing like Burt Reynolds leading like four guys like across a river holding a walking stick like for the whole movie, and
That
that's
happens, yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it helps that like he is really like he's the one outdoorsy guy, and then the other ones are just very out of place, and they like rely on him, because and he's the only one confident in what he's doing. um and I guess John Voight is too. He's not totally incompetent like the other two are, but um yeah, and they're also like they also reciprocate what the townspeople are giving to them too. They aren't necessarily super affable towards the townspeople, but regardless, they're a little fucked up, and
Hmm.
yeah, some crazy shit happens, and yeah, it's a really really great movie. I would definitely think that you could throw this in like to the like October horror
Yeah, my
type
October
movie.
run. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I
it
definitely will because
yeah
it just sounds like so much fun right now.
yeah it's a really just like a really easy watch. Like it's paced so well because it's you're moving along down the river like with these
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, that's what I'm just picturing. That's what I'm just picturing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So everything
with
leads
guys
to
that
like
are like,
something.
I'm totally gonna be into watching. That's kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah, no, they're all really really enjoyable too. And yeah, and it's a little messed up. But yeah, Deliverance, I slept on it way too long, but I'm glad I finally saw it.
nice. All right, should we talk about Wait, let me talk about this one first.
Mhm.
Uh, I finally watched Edward Scissorhands.
Mm, that's one I need to get to still.
Yeah, like that was like a big hole in my movie career. That I My movie watching career. Not my
Yeah,
not
your
my
career.
filmmaking career. I didn't make Edward Scissorhands, and I wish I did. But yeah, like whenever I heard about like someone saying, "Oh yeah, have you seen Edward Scissorhands?" They make that reference.
Yeah,
I'd be
he's
like, God
referenced all the
damn it!
time.
Like I'm supposed to be like a movie guy here, and I haven't seen Edward Scissorhands. So I finally watched it. Um, One of the big references I have for Edward Scissorhands is actually in Seinfeld. They kind of do this like play on it during this haircut episode where
Oh, I think I know what
these
you're talking about.
bar like towards the end of it, the barbers are watching Edward Scissorhands, and
Yeah.
it's just like so captivating for them, and they bring in the music from the movie, and they're just staring at the screen, and one of the barbers is like, "That Edward," I don't know what like European accent they have, but I'm gonna do it, which may come out weird, where he's
Gonna be
like, "That Edward
canceled.
Scissorhands is making me cry" at one point. So that's just what I always think of, is like, Edward Scissorhands are making me cry. Is that
Yeah.
Italian?
That sounds well, what you did sounded Italian. Yeah.
I think it is Italian because that's what it sounds like. All right.
See that
Uh,
Italian barbers.
yeah.
Sure.
Um, yeah, and then there's also like an opera thing in the episode going, so that's probably also part of the the Italian barber thing that they're playing around with. But anyways, the movie Edward Scissorhands, um, I liked it a lot. Like, it was just really easy to watch because like it's one of those that Tim Burton really puts you in his world a lot, and there's so much imagination to the like production design and the art department aspect of it, to where I don't know, it feels like something I would have like grown up with. It's definitely more um I would say adult than something I would totally understand as a kid.
Hmm.
um but I think one of the best parts about it is how um I don't know, you could how Tim Burton kind of shows his cynical view of the world. And because like Edward Scissorhands kind of lives in this house above like a very synchronized suburban street, which is like, I feel like they painted the houses in a way to make it look aesthetically kind of beautiful, but it's also plain, like, so it looks really good, but it's also
Hmm.
plain on the fact on like, this is typical like life, and
Hmm.
that this is like, there are rules here, and um being accepted and to fit in and be part of it is like not a 100% reasonable task. Like, this is a world of very just like tight knit. uh I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm going a little deeper with it than, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what I think about it, but I mean, the main thing is Edward has fucking big ass swords on his hands. Like, he has like eight swords on his hands. So every time he meets someone, it's like, oh, he'll he could easily just cut them accidentally, because
Jesus
he'll
Christ.
just
Yeah.
like, yeah, right, he'll just like point his hand somewhere, and it's like, whoa, Edward, and like, and so like, it's like this, I don't know, it's just playing on this thing where he's like, I can't touch anybody without hurting them. And like when he falls in love with Winona Ryder later, um she's like, hold me, and he's like, I can't. And they like, she like puts his arms around him, and like the swords are kind of like touching her back, and like I feel like it's a very just like iconic movie romance moment for sure. um Specifically, Diane Wiest in this movie is
Hmm.
really good. She's Winona Ryder's mom, and she kind of takes Edward into her home when she finds him one time and kind of tries to integrate him into the neighborhood. And she's just, I don't know, she's just like it's like such a calming role to watch as she's showing Edward how like the world works, because Edward has essentially been up in this house uh, for his whole life. Like he was abandoned up there by his maker, essentially, who kind of fucked up and gave him scissors for hands. And so,
Yeah, that was a bad move on his part. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So he's been literally up there, like depressed in this attic in the dark for like years. And yeah, that part of it is really depressing, and it's really depressing when like they're sitting at a dinner table, and like they're watching Edward try to eat, and like the food is just falling off of his scissors, and everyone's just instead of helping him, they're like the family's all trying to pretend it's not a thing and try not to
Oh
stare at
yeah.
it to like make him feel self-conscious. But then you just keep watching him and he can't get to his food, and you're just like, I'm just watching. It's like, someone help this fucking guy.
God,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know. And so he meets eventually. He just meets more people in the town, and it gets more uh, real on like whether he'll actually fit in there or not. You know, some people start to be kind of like most of the time people are like really nice to him. You know,
Hmm.
like everyone's like, hey, how you doing, Edward? And they're like really typical people, and like Edward's just like this, and like they're trying to have a real conversation with him. They're just like dads who work at work jobs, and now they're barbecuing, that sort of thing. And so that dynamic is just kind of really funny, and like a lot of the people are just very friendly to him, but there's just like one or two people who are like, we cannot have him around. Like, and then that's like what becomes the thing later. But yeah, man, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. And uh maybe probably maybe the best Burton I've seen, between that and Batman, maybe.
Wow, nice. That's high praise. That's another one I have not seen yet, and need to. Um, so yeah, I'll for sure that'll probably be on my October watch list. Nice. To go off of that, I will also go with a 1990 Johnny Depp movie, um, Crybaby, the John
Ah,
Waters
sounds
movie.
sounds very different.
Yes, it's different, but also kind of the same. Um, but yeah, I had actually just watched this yesterday, and I also rewatched. But right before it, I rewatched Little Nicky, and
Yeah, I saw.
and Little Nicky is well, I'm not going to go too far into Little Nicky, but just Adam Sandler movies in general, especially from that time, I feel they sort of make fun of like the weirdos in a way, and it's more of like, oh, I think of like a ton of jocks who I know who are obsessed with Adam Sandler movies, and I don't consider myself to be one of those, but I also really like Adam Sandler movies, but they can be very anti like the weirdo or make fun of the weirdo. Like in Little Nicky, there's that cross-dressing guy who is just so like beyond weird, and they just like constantly like shit on him the whole time. And so then after that, I watched Crybaby, which a John Waters movie, which is very much like glorifying the weirdos, which was kind of nice. It was a nice change of pace from that. And yeah, Crybaby is almost like if John Waters made a version of Grease, that would be this. It's like a town where um there's the squares, and then there's, I think they're called the drapes.
The
And
drapes.
the drapes, yeah, the drapes are like the cool people. They're all like they all like dress cool and like funky, and they are like musicians and artists, and like, and then there's the squares who are like the, you know, the prim and proper people. And this is the story of Johnny Depp, who's this like
He's a
you know,
drape, right?
yeah, he's a drape, and he's this cool like motorcycle riding guy with a leather jacket, and he sings like Elvis. And you know, all his like group of people, they're all like, they all look very weird and
Yeah.
unique,
I
but
need
they're
to
all like the
watch
cool
this. I think out
people.
of everything on your list so far, I want to watch this one the most now.
You would love this. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very musical too. I mean, there's a ton of music. It is essentially a musical. Um, but yeah, it's such a funny, like great movie. And um yeah, it's just like different. Like John Waters just has like such his like style, which just um like, whereas, you know, like I said with like Adam Sandler, like the weirdos are like the butt of the joke, whereas like here the weirdos are like so confident and cool. And
Right, right.
yeah, and I like that. And yeah, so this is the story of these two lovers from opposite ends of the spectrum, you know, coming together. And yeah, it's really funny and wacky and weird. And yeah, really really good movie. So I would definitely recommend Crybaby.
So my next one would be The Intern, uh,
Mm,
which is a movie I have not seen, and I wanted to actually. Well, I don't know if I wanted to that much for a while. I think recently, in the past year or two, I wanted to watch it mainly because um, I am I'm not really, I wouldn't say into, I'm like interested in Nancy Meyers movies because Nancy Meyers has this very like controlled like rom-com aesthetic that other rom-com directors do not have. You know what I mean? You could tell there's a
yeah.
weird level of auteurism in Nancy Meyers movies, and there's a lot of like tropes and a lot of like they're always like the most well-off people, and then so she has incredible like set design, like just really well like nice homes. They're like very comfortable, like I don't know, movies to like be in. And then she always has like the most charismatic actors that she's like just wants to use. And like The Parent Trap is more so like I've only seen like The Parent Trap, um but Something's Got to Give is a really good one. They're both good, as good as it gets. And Something's Got to Give, Something's Got to Give has a lot of weird things in it though, where you'll be like, huh, you know. And even though it is pretty good, The Parent Trap is just a movie I grew up with, which is like one of the weirdest films like ever, especially on rewatch. Um, the Intern is maybe my favorite movie by her. And
Really? Wow.
yeah, and what's funny about it is like there's really no stakes to any of it at all. There's just something so um comforting about it and fun that I just enjoyed it so much. Like Robert De Niro plays like a guy who's retired, and he's like sick of just he's just sick of trying to fill up his day with retirement. And so he, you know, he feels like he's done everything he can to try to make the use of every day. So he decides to get a job as a senior intern at this like hip new internet company that Anne Hathaway runs. And I don't like one of the big things. I'm like, why the hell would all these young people want a old person to be their intern?
Yeah, right.
I like it doesn't make any sense. But I don't know. The movie kind of has a lot of humor about it on like when they're there, when he's just there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're really old, right? Yeah, we don't, we're very different, different generations." And so whenever that happens and that confusion occurs, I'm always kind of like, well, then why did you guys hire senior interns? Like, not like the stakes are ever like that. The stakes are never high. It's always just like a comment or something like, you don't know how to use your Mac. Like, he doesn't know how to open his Mac on his first day, and they show him and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But De Niro is very charismatic in this movie, I must say, and he ends up being one of the most well-liked interns at the company, and he's interning directly for Anne Hathaway, who's just like a working girl. Like, I started this company and I am CEO, I'm CEO, bitch.
Girl
Like,
boss.
like
Yeah.
his social network, yeah. And um she's married to, I'm pretty sure, Anders from Workaholics. So
Oh,
this
nice.
doesn't only have him in it. Also, Adam Devine is in the company.
Wow.
And
2 out
so
of
there's a
3.
lot, yeah, there's a lot of fun, like, comedic actors in just the company in general that are very young, and and you're like, oh, awesome, they're in this. Like, that's fun because, like, Adam Devine is just like talking to De Niro, like doing his thing with De Niro. Is like, so I don't even know, whatever Adam Devine does. Um and yeah, like there's really like I mean, I guess the tension really is like, at first, like, Anne Hathaway doesn't want De Niro to be like her assistant, and then he's starting to get like more involved in her life, and then he's like, no, he can't be my assistant. Like, I want to be more private. And then eventually she ends up liking him a lot and confiding in him and everything. And then she's like, oh no, this guy. And then eventually she says at one point, she's like, he's my best friend. And then there's like, and towards the end, it's like that shot with them on the bed together that's like in the trailers and stuff like that. So it's just like, it's just one of those nice, like, uh just like friendships, really. And
Mm-hmm.
from two actors that everyone really likes. And it's nice to see Anne Hathaway in something good, because she's in a lot of shitty things sometimes, and she
Yeah.
is really good. So
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up about Nancy Myers, because I don't always like think about watching movies like this, but they are, like, even if I don't love them, like, they are like kind of nice to watch, like a nice, like,
mm-hmm,
cozy movie to watch.
mm-hmm,
uh
right.
yeah.
And they're all just like, I don't know, I just know, even if I don't like one, it's going to be interesting at least.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think we should end it on Cry Macho, the Clint
Let's
Eastwood
do it.
movie.
Let's do it.
See how we can make it work.
I watched
Well,
Cry Macho right after I watched Cry Baby too, and I didn't realize that until right now, that I watched two Cry movies
that's
back to
great.
back.
That's really good. Yeah, man. Like, I've weirdly been keeping up with Clint Eastwood's work as old as he
Mhm.
gets. I'm like, whatever. I'll just keep watching like Clint Eastwood movies. Like The Mule obviously was interesting,
Yeah, we
but
talked about
kind
that
of,
a lot. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, that one he made. What was it called? Richard Jewell. I like
Oh
a
yeah.
lot. I
I
like
never
Richard
saw that
Jewell.
one.
Yeah, but Cry Macho I did not like, and I was
Yeah.
bored as hell. And um, yeah, I even
Yeah.
like at the end when he's like dancing he's like, I'm going back to my happy place, and he's like dancing with the woman. And it's just like, what the fuck? Like, he's 90 years old.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah. There were a couple moments that just made me like roll my eyes, that involved like Clint Eastwood charming women in some way, and I just wasn't buying it and wasn't into it.
Yeah, not even
And I
charming them. Like, they would just come up to him and immediately be like, do you want like sex from me because you're a attractive man, and you're
yeah,
like of a regular, and they're acting like he's not. It's not like weird that he's not a regular age.
yeah, like he's this old bag of bones. that they wanna
Yeah.
bang. Yeah,
Like,
what?
is he gonna settle at the end with that woman? Like,
Yeah,
she's seemed to be like 50s maybe. Like, she's gonna like have him for a year or two. Like,
yeah. It's like the dynamic is more so like, oh, he's like the old neighborhood dad or like old neighborhood grandpa to like people. And
yeah.
I hated like all the, I guess what I mean by charm is like he would make, someone would say something and then he'd like have this little quip with like a little smile on his face. And I was just like, it just seemed like what a 93-year-old man would think people would like to hear or think is like funny. Where it's like, all right, we get it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I could not
Yeah.
get into it.
Yeah. And I thought the like at the kid, I didn't think he was awful or bad or anything. I was just he shouldn't have been in this big of a role. Like, this kid should not be carrying a movie.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. Yeah.
That's just what
I
I think.
Yeah, it just felt so dull and like their like relationship between them.
Yeah.
And in the beginning I was almost like starting to get intrigued because it was like, oh, this seems like a noir in a way, or like some private eye thing where this guy, or even like Vertigo, there's like, Dwight Yoakam is talking to him and he's like, I want you to go check on my son or whatever, like get my son. Or is like in Vertigo, he's like, I want you to follow my wife. And
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, oh, this is interesting. Clint Eastwood is like this old ass cowboy, like private eye type of guy. And it wasn't like that. And then, yeah, I just got really
Yeah.
bored. And
But once he gets with the son, it very much slows down dramatically and does not
yeah,
escalate in a Vertigo way at all.
no, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and he doesn't fall in love with the boy like in Vertigo, like he would fall in love with the wife. Yeah, I don't know. I think I was in a bad mood watching it too, and this didn't help. And I felt very harshly towards it, and it was just kind of,
Just like, fuck this.
yeah, that's what I was feeling. But I was like, okay, there's half an hour left, like I can finish it. But I think the mule I at least enjoyed watching.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't have the same feeling with this one though.
No.
Yeah, even like, yeah, like Sully, like some of the other like recent ones, like I was like, I enjoyed watching and I'm glad I watched them. But this one is for sure, it's like, okay, I don't know how much more of Clint Eastwood I
Did
could
I ever
watch.
tell you that Sully story of mine? I've never seen it.
I don't know if you told
This
me.
might be a repeat story, but I just find it so funny that I feel like I gotta tell it. Like, I was learning how to do transcendental meditation,
Really?
and then yeah, I've gone through all that process and culty secretiveness that they do there. Um, and I was doing it with a group at one time who were also learning, and there was an old woman in the front. And a lot of the people who are doing TM are like, they're like, like the instructor goes like, why do you want to do TM? And they go like, cause of stress and anxiety, and every person says that. And this one woman, after, like, people were asking questions after they just opened the room to questions, and people are saying things like, oh, I don't know if it's working for me, I don't really feel anything from it, blah blah blah, is there something I'm doing wrong, blah blah blah. And then one woman asked, she was like, I think she had a southern accent, she was like, I was watching this movie Sully in the theater, and that movie really freaked me out. Like, is there anything we could do about that? And the instructors had no idea what to say. And she's like, because that was a really traumatic experience for me. And I just thought it was the funniest, oh, the funniest
Jesus.
fucking thing. Yeah. Oh.
My God, that should be, like a tagline for Sully. It'll make you need to go get
Well,
transcendental
I'm just picturing
meditation.
this. I'm just picturing this old woman like in the theater, and some people are just like, I don't know. I don't know if it's like ignorant, or they're more like, maybe we're more desensitized to film at this point, but like they get sucked into the movie to where they're like, oh, this is happening, it's virtual reality. It's like, chill, man. Like, there's no way Sully's that fucking, like, I just know it's not that fucking intense, man. It's not
No,
like, it's not a Safdie brothers movie where it actually like makes you sweat and gets under your skin. Like, it's Clint Eastwood, man. There's no way. It's a typical like, it's typical filmmaking is way more normal. So it's just like this, I don't know, I just kind of viewed it as like this stupid old woman's asking this dumb question because she's like fucking watching Sully and can't handle it. It's like where are you at sensory wise where you can't handle Sully?
it's also a recent
Like, you need to
event
take a
that we
Xanax
all,
before you watch Sully.
yeah, and it's a recent event that we all know what happened. So it's not like, anything's gonna shock you.
The
It's
whole
like, wait
thing
a
is
second,
about the plane goes down. Like,
yeah, and we already know that everything was fine and everyone was okay. Like, it's a not like some hidden event in history that we haven't talked about. Like, it was very relevant at the time the movie came out too. So how can you be surprised or like on edge about what's gonna happen?
that's just like one of those things I'll never forget. 'Cause it was just like,
Wow,
as it was coming out of her mouth, I was just like, wow.
that's hilarious. Yeah. Wow. Well, hopefully she's doing okay, whatever she's
Like,
doing
some
out
people,
there.
yeah, right. I hope she's all right.
Yeah.
I hope she recovered from that. It's like some people who are in there could be like, I'm recovering from mental health because I have been like suicidal, or like I recently faced a family death, or like I don't know, I have cancer. Like, these are really extremes. I'm not saying everyone who has these conditions is doing TM, but like that could be a thing someone says. Like, I
Yeah.
just need to relax from all these real life stresses. And then this woman watching, dude's just watching a movie at home, and
Hey, yeah, I shouldn't chastise anyone for their own traumas, like watching Sully, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, maybe that is like the craziest thing that has ever happened to her, for all we know.
Hey, well, she's been through it and she sought out help, so that's all that
That's
matters.
the
Good
important
for
thing.
her. Good for her.